Today's episode is generously sponsored by Squarespace. Welcome friends, welcome back to Sunday Morning in the Old Cookbook Show. We're going to do another recipe today out of the Metropolitan Cookbook, published in 1918 by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. And today we're going to do something called rich muffins. And I don't know why they're called rich muffins. I guess we'll figure it out at the end when we taste test them because there's really not a whole lot in them. So it must just be a textural thing. We're going to start out with creaming the fat. Now the ingredient list says fat, but later on in the recipe it says shortening. And I do know that in that time period, shortening could have meant vegetable shortening, which is less likely, but probably meant lard. So I am using lard today. And I'm just going to cream this up and soften it before we add the sugar. Okay, once the lard is softened, we just slowly cream in the sugar, a little bit at a time. And then we just keep mixing until it's light and fluffy. Okay, now we'll put in 1 egg. And we'll just continue beating. Next in is some milk. So get some milk. And this is 3.25% milk. So it doesn't say what kind of milk you need to use, but 3.25 is generally what we have in our house. So I'm just going to go with it. Now we just mix this in as well. Now I'm going to mix together the dry ingredients, which is flour, baking powder, and salt. And just give that a bit of a stir, kind of bring it together. And so now I'm going to switch to a rubber spatula or a wooden spoon, whatever you have that's stiff enough to bring together this batter. And it doesn't say to put it in slowly, it just says to put it in. So I'm going to probably only put in about half. Mix it in and then put in the second half. And the last of the flour. So I think I've got this mixed together right. The directions are a little bit different than you would normally get for a muffin. Usually with muffins you have to be very careful not to overbeat. This one says to beat until very well incorporated. So I think I've got it right. But it doesn't tell me how many muffins. And of course it doesn't tell me a temperature. But it does give me a time, 25 minutes. So we're just going to put the batter into the muffin tins and hope we get it right. This episode of Glenn and Friends was made possible with the generous support of Squarespace. Squarespace gives you a powerful and beautiful online platform to create your own website, blog, or online store. You can choose from tons of award-winning templates. Our own website is built on Squarespace. Maybe you've seen it. And if you don't have a domain, don't worry, you can buy one directly from Squarespace and get started right away. So go to squarespace.com/Glenn and Friends Cooking for a free trial and 10% off your first purchase. Thanks, Squarespace.
These look fabulously goldeny.
They are rich muffins.
Are they now?
Which I'm not. So the whole time I made these,
They look. You're just gonna take the top, aren't you? You were totally gonna take my muffin top.
I was. Okay,
I mean,
I'll take the bottom.
You don't have to take the bottom. I just was gonna eat them separately.
The whole time I was making these, all I could think of was
They're like a biscuit, though.
it's more like a biscuit, and the dough when I was putting it into the pan, it was more like a biscuit because there's a lot of baking powder in them, so it was already rising.
It is a lot like a biscuit.
So
It's a not flaky biscuit. Does that make sense? A not flaky biscuit. It's got all the flavors of a biscuit without having that layered flakiness of a tea biscuit. Yeah.
it's a drop biscuit in a muffin tin. And the whole time I was making it, I was thinking, this is just a base for add-ins. They don't tell you what to add in, but it's like
It's interesting because it's not super sweet.
it's a drop scone.
No.
It's a drop scone in a muffin pan.
It's not super sweet, right? Which is I really like, but you get a little jam on it would be really nice.
So if you were expecting a muffin, this is not. Well, in today's parlance of what a muffin is.
In the modern sense of muffins, because remember, I don't know, a few months ago I made those muffins from that book from the 70s that was all about muffins.
Yeah.
Not as sweet in any
No.
way. And so muffins have become a super sweet thing, but at one point they just, they weren't. And
This is more like a quick bread.
yeah.
Definitely more like a quick bread.
but again, you could even, you could throw
I think
on.
there's all kinds of add-ins that you could put in this.
Make it once and then decide
And then
what you want to
decide-
put with it. Really, that's
And
the
if
way
you
to
don't
go.
want to put add-ins, I mean, then you just dip this in beef stew, or you dip this in a.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Would you like some of the top too?
okay. So this is an interesting recipe in that it's not. It doesn't fit in any sort of modern mold of what we would expect for a muffin. It is more of a quick bread. And if
But
that
that's okay.
suits you, then I think this
You
would be
probably
good.
have a need
you would,
for a
you
quick
would, yeah.
bread.
You know, I will be having these tomorrow morning toasted with a little bit of butter and jam on them.
All right, so thanks for coming out. We'll see you again soon. Glenn took a really big bite of a muffin.